Hey everybody, this is Mace1370 here for a second video RTR84 draft. This is our first pack, and it looks like we have a couple of good cards to choose from. The rare is Righteous Authority. This is a very strong enchantment. This can really take the game away if you slap it down on a creature and they don't remove it. It's probably going to be our pick just because power level wise it's better than everything else in the pack by a pretty good margin. Other cards to consider. Soulsworn Spirit is strong, but not something I'm typically, super happy first picking. Teleportal, also a very strong card, but it's a little more narrow in its applications. This card can just be a huge blowout. If you're playing especially like Izzet aggro where you're just dropping down a ton of creatures, you can really just kind of win from nowhere. Most people don't really seem to expect this card when playing against Izzet, and they just kind of let you get a bunch of hits in. So yeah, Righteous Authority, and hopefully we can get a good Azorius deck going. Okay. Let's see, there's a few options here. So we probably want to be, keep our eyes on the blue-white cards so we can play this card. It's pretty strong. The options as far as that goes, we have Vassal Soul. We also have Bluster Squall, Inaction Injunction, Inspiration, Eye in the Skies, Keening Apparition. None of these cards are super exciting. Let me see here. I'll probably go with the Vassal Soul. I think it's probably the best pick at this point. We just want a lot of evasive guys to put this on. So that's probably our best bet. Sorry about that. Just trying to get my setup here. Okay, another few options for us. Tower Drake, Nuprov Guildmage, Sunspire Griffin, and Eye in the Skies would all be good cards for us to play. Nuprov Guildmage is probably the best. I really do like Tower Drake though, and Sunspire Griffin. They're both, very good cards that we'd like to see. The Guildmage is really nice. He pops things up in the air for flying. He can, detain later on in the game for some removal. And Azorius, is typically fairly removal light. Arrests are hard to come by. They get snapped up pretty quickly by anyone playing white, and even people just splash it. So you typically don't see it, past pick like 2 or 3. So I think Nuprov Guildmage is the pick for this pack. Seems like Azorius is pretty open. There are a lot of Azorius cards in this pack, and there were in the last pack. We haven't really seen, any reason to deviate from this pass so far. Okay, this pack is less exciting than the one before. Cards that we should consider, I think, are Concordia Pegasus, Asperia Skywatch, and that's pretty much it. Mizium Skin is a okay, like 23rd card. I think Dispel is better overall. I'd prefer to play Dispel than Mizium Skin. So I think we just take Asperia Skywatch here. It's not terrible. You want to have 1 or 2 6-drops. And Asperia Skywatch is, it's an okay one. It's not amazing, but I'm never unhappy to play it. Alright, so I think here we just take Concordia Pegasus. There's really not much else for us. Our other options are taking Downsize kind of as a sideboard card, or Aerial Predation to counter draft, but we have a pick here that we'll probably end up playing, so I don't really see any reason not to take our playable. Alright, so here is between Seller of Songbirds and Dispel. I guess we'd probably just take Seller of Songbirds. It gives us a flyer, which is another thing for Righteous Authority to sneak through on. Dispel's a pretty good card too, though. I could see an argument for taking it, but I'm not unhappy taking a Seller here. Alright, this pack is kind of a dud for us. The only card is Paralyzing Grasp, and I'm not super excited to play it. It's okay. few other decent cards in the pack, like Courser's Accord and Zanikov Locust, but you know, they're not something that we'll play. Alright, that's a super late Centaur's Herald. You know, we haven't seen a ton of Selesnya. We'll probably just take another Paralyzing Grasp here, I assume. Although, let's see. I'm tempted, you know, we don't have like a huge reason to necessarily, you know, stick to just blue-white. We could splash blue in like a Selesnya deck. So I think it's probably worthwhile just to take the Centaur's Herald here. I mean, like, we're probably not playing a second Paralyzing Grasp, by the way, so I don't think we're missing out on much just to take the Herald here in the event that Selesnya is wide open later. And, you know, we're also getting like 15 Paralyzing Grasps this draft. For this pack, I think we just take Hussar Patrol. I like playing it in Azorius. It's a good card. It's great in the 4 slot. It does, you know, a lot of what you need to do, block, and it can even get in for some extra damage because of the vigilance throughout the game. Wow, alright, well, it's looking like Azorius is pretty wide open if both Inspiration and Keening Apparition tabled. So we could take the Inspiration, which might be the pick. I'm kind of leaning more towards the Keening Apparition, just so, you know, one, it helps us, protects against Stab Wound, which Azorius can be pretty weak too, and also, you know, if someone else gets it, they could kill our Righteous Authority with it. I mean, although that's kind of a side issue. Is it Guildgate? There's also an option just in case you wanted to splash red later. So here, I guess we just take Mizium Skin or Sundering Growth. You know, we'll probably pick up another Mizium Skin, so I guess we'll just take the Sundering Growth. And another Sundering Growth. The reason why I do that is in the event that we end up in Selesnya, which it's looking probably like we won't do just because we picked up a decent amount of blue cards now that we want to play. You know, I think it's valuable to have those in the sideboard since, you know, they're good sideboards for Selesnya decks. Pause the video really quick. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Alright, so this pack we actually have a couple options. We had taken the Izzet Guildgate. I think, you know, Thought Flare is definitely a viable pick. That's what I like splashing red for in Azorius. I mean, Thought Flare is a pretty strong card. You know, that said, we haven't taken one yet. And I think Void Wielder is a really good card as well. So I think Void Wielder is probably the pick, although that's pretty close. I think it just depends on you know, on how willing you are to splash. If we didn't have a great card in our colors, then I definitely would probably take the Thought Flare here. Alright, well, I'm not going to complain about getting another Void Wielder. Hopefully this Fairy Imposter tables, you know, and sometimes they do. I like Fairy Imposter in Azorius decks where you have multiple Void Wielders, also in, you know, like Izzet decks with multiple Void Wielders. Basically just becomes another Void Wielder. You know, and you get like that 2/1 body that can, you know, get in for extra damage. We haven't seen anything really to like throw us into the Selesnya path or, you know, take us off of our Azorius path at this point. We're just getting good cards in our colors, so there's no reason to really deviate. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide the Centaur's Herald. Who knows though? I say that, and then there's a Phantom General, you know, Tyrant Indrik, and a Selesnya keyword in this pack, but. So for us, we can take either the Azorius Guildgate, the Cancel. Swift Justice is very good too. Phantom General is okay. Not really great for us. You know, you'd have to have a couple Eye in the Skies and multiple Cellar of Songbirds for me to really consider playing it, and even then, it's just not that exciting if you don't have a ton of token makers, which Azorius typically doesn't have. I think we just take the Guildgate here. Swift Justice is very good. It helps you race a lot. And we already have a couple tempo we like cards. Cancel is an option too. We'll see. I think the Guildgate's correct to take here. Ooh, alright, this is tougher pick. We have Hussar Patrol, Knightly Valor, there's another Centaur's Herald, Avenging Arrow, Stealer of Secrets, and Dispel. So we already have 3/5 drops. Knightly Valor is very good in Azorius. You can just, you know, put it on like a 2/2 or a 2/3 flyer and really start bashing in for a lot. So I like Knightly Valor a lot. Power-wise, I think it's really great. Also, if you get some key runes, you can really ramp up to it pretty quickly. Um, like throwing it on a Concordia Pegasus. Hussar Patrol is good too, but I think power level wise, I'd probably just prefer the Nightly Valor. That's tough, just because we already have 3/5 drops. It makes me want to take a 4 drop just to get our curve better, but yeah, I like Nightly Valor, so I think we'll take that. And then we get past another Nightly Valor. That's okay though. We have an Inspiration and a Dramatic Rescue. Every time I see an Inspiration, I feel like there's always a different card in the back that I'd just rather have, and in this case, it's Dramatic Rescue. This card is really strong. Tempo-wise, it helps you race. I think it's a good card. It answers a lot of different things in this format, like all the different enchantment removal. I would like to pick up an Inspiration, though, this draft. Hopefully this one comes back. We'll see. And as an aside, we've been seeing quite a few Paralyzing Grasp, but also, Stab Wound. That's a really late Stab Wound. There's really nothing else for us here. I mean, like, we could take Security Blockade, which is pretty meh, or Ethereal Armor. Not sure how we would splash the Stab Wound. Maybe if we get like a Keyrune or something, but I don't know. It's not easy for us to splash black, but to be honest, there's really nothing else here for us that I'm excited about taking, so I guess we'll just take it. Alright, that's a late Rootborn Defenses. It's kind of odd. We've been seeing some late Selesnya cards, but like nothing major. Just kind of like random things popping up later in the draft that I would expect them to see. I don't know if there's the Selesnya players on the table are not valuing things correctly, or if they're just getting multiple good Selesnya cards in one pack, so they're kind of getting through. I think here we take Azorius Arrestor. Good tempo card. Helps us get to the late game. Trades for one of their early drops. It's pretty solid. Okay, so here our option is either another Azorius Arrestor or an Asperia Skywatch. We only have one 6-drop so far. I think I'm probably just tempted to take the Azorius Arrestor here, although I guess this is fairly close. Yeah, probably take the Arrestor. I tend to value 2 drops more highly than 6 drops, unless the 6 drops are significantly stronger. I mean, Asperia Skywatch is good. I don't know. This could be incorrect. We'll see. All right, nothing super exciting for us in this pack. I don't really want to take another Paralyzing Grasp. I don't think we'll play it. I'll just take the Dork. Probably won't play him either, to be honest. Oh, hey, the Fairy Imposter came back. That's nice. And the Swift Justice. I'm happy about that. So quite a bit for his table this pack. The Azorius Arrestor also works really well with Fairy Imposter just for the detain effect. So we have, like 1, 2, 3, 4 good targets for the Fairy Imposter already, so I think that that'll definitely make the cut this draft. Sometimes it doesn't. There's a Dispel. That's usually when I want to pick them up. You can typically get 1 or 2 pretty late. That's why I tend to just avoid them early, just because I expect them to come later. So we'll take a blue card here. I'm not going to play any of them. It's a really late course. This card's playable, I don't know. So we have a good number of playables so far. Not sure if we'll play the Stab Wound or not. Again, it's pretty difficult for us to play. We'd probably just have to play 2 Swamps, which I'm not sure how I feel about doing. I'm not sure if it's worth it for Stab Wound. Alright, well, this pack is not super exciting for us. The standout cards, probably Annihilating Fire, which not in our colors. Tristania's Judgment's probably the pick. It's just pretty much blanket removal. Maybe we get lucky and populate our Seller of Songbird token. So yeah, there's really nothing else here for us, so I guess we'll just take the Judgment. Avenging Arrow is just worse. Wow, that's a Rakdos Lord of Riots. That's a scary card to potentially play against, but I guess now we know about it. Alright, so our options are Eye in the Skies, Vassal Soul. You could just take the Rakdos. I don't think he's worth any tickets. I think right now we're just leaning towards the Vassal Soul. So we have 13 creatures. Yeah, probably take the Vassal Soul here. This is again another instance where there's an inspiration. There's just something else I'd rather take. Just checking on the value of Rakdos. I don't think it's worth anything. Yeah, it's like 1 or 2 tickets. Not worth taking. So yes, I think Vassal Soul is the pick here. It's a decent 3-drop. Hopefully we wheel Inspiration Eye in the Sky or Azorius Arrestor. Someone's going to be happy to get the Lord of Riots there. Alright, can't complain about another Void Wielder. The card is just pretty nuts. An Action Injunction would be nice to get on the wheel, but you know this is a pretty shallow pack, so I'm not counting on it. Okay, so our options here are either a Stealer of Secrets or a Guildgate. I think Stealer of Secrets is the pick. We have, you know, 2 Azorius Arrestors, a Dramatic Rescue, all the Void Wielders. I think Stealer of Secrets is the pick, just because there's a good chance we'll get it through at least once, just with some Arrest Trickery, or Detain Trickery, I should say. Probably cutting the Slesny, essentially. I don't think he's making the cut here. Hopefully Paralyzing Grasp and Stab Wound also. Or Paralyzing Grasp, definitely. I'm not sure how we're going to make Stab Wound work, or not anticipating it being in our final deck. Okay, so here we have either Dramatic Rescue number 2, an Action Injunction number 1, or Concordia Pegasus number 2. I think to mix it up we just take the Inaction Injunction. I like that it cycles. In our deck it looks like it's probably going to do pretty similar things to you know, all this other arrest and or detain and bounce stuff. Maybe this is wrong. I like that it cycles, and you know, with Stealer of Secrets you can just kind of get in there for maybe a free card on turn 4. So we don't have a lot of 4-drops. There's a good chance we're just dropping 2 2-drops on turn 4. So an Action Injunction I think is probably the pick here. Alright, I'm not unhappy taking a Sunspire Griffin. It's a solid 3-drop. Really nothing else for us in that pack. Things that I would like an Inspiration to fill up our 4 slot. Eye in the Sky, not sure if I'd play. Probably not worth it. Okay, so here we have either Asperia Skywatch or another Azorius Arrestor. We already have 2. And we don't have a lot of late game, to be honest. You know, we just have the one Skywatch and just a bunch of Void Wielders, and, you know, I don't know. I think I'll probably take the Skywatch. I want to have, you know, at least a second larger body in the air. Although, you know, our deck is looking pretty tempo-y, so maybe that's wrong. But yeah, I think I'll just do that. I don't know. That's a close pick. That could very well be wrong, not to take the other 2-drop. Our 5 slots kind of clogged, but they're all Void Wielders and they're awesome, so I don't feel bad about that. Alright, this is tough. I guess I just take the Vassal Soul here. It's another good 3-drop. You know, we have 1 Judgment. I don't think we need a second. You know, we have all this bounce and lockdown and stuff, so I don't think we need the Judgment. I think just having another body is probably the best here. Alright, well, I guess we'll just take Avenging Arrow. It's better than Paralyzing Grasp, I guess. Probably not playing the Stab Wound. Maybe not playing the Concordia Pegasus, or we'll see. This card is such a beating. Everything came back. Alright, I really want to take the Azorius Arrestor here, but I think one, our 4 slot is pretty empty, and 2, having some card draw is good. I think we need to take the Inspiration finally here, just to give us a little staying power. Right now we have Righteous Authority, but it's nice to have a second one. Also, having both it and the Hussar Patrol means that they don't always know what we're going to do on turn 4 if we leave mana open like that, so they might attack the Hussar Patrol more often, although that's a pretty minor point, I think. We already have a Mizim skin, so I guess we'll just take a Street Sweeper. Oh, that's a late Guild Gate. Happy to get that. Wow, and that's a late Dramatic Rescue. We got quite a few good cards on the wheel here. It's almost like we were the only Azorius player on the table. So yeah, Concordia Pegasus might not be making the cut, although I like putting Knightly Valor on it. Just because, like that 3/5 body in the air with Vigilance, it attacks really well. The 3/5 can block pretty much everything. Seller of Songbirds, probably not making the cut. Okay, so let's see. Probably playing both of these, the Guild Mage, the Patrol, definitely that. Maybe one Dispel. Alright. So, I'd like to play, both of these 2 drops. Kenyan Apparition, again, like I said earlier, is nice. It helps prevent Saboons from just utterly wrecking you, but I don't know if it's necessary in this deck just because we have double Dramatic Rescue, Fairy, and Fairy Imposter, and 3 Void Wielders. I mean, we have a lot of ways to get out of Saboon, so I'm not super worried about it in this deck. Pegasus is nice just because, it's a good target for some of our enchantments, but we already have a bunch of creatures that go well on them, so I don't think we need to do that here. So I think this is good. Whoops. Cancel. What does Moto say? 7. Seems about right. So the issue here is, do we do Swift Justice versus Dispel? Having double Azorius Arrestor, Swift Justice is good. You can block and then probably get a free card off it. With Righteous Authority, I'm almost tempted to put in the Dispel, though. That's tough. Having the Dispel to protect the Righteous Authority, and prevent us from getting 2 for 1. We have such a tempo-y deck, I don't know if we'll need the life gain, so I think I'm going to probably put the Dispel in. I think that's correct. Alright, we will continue this in round 1.